Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England is a Rocky Mountain construction hybrid conversion of the park's former Cyclone wooden coaster. Wicked Cyclone is a frenetic barrage of airtime and hang time. This was the first RMC I ever experienced back in 2015, and it absolutely took my breath away. But over the past 6 years, I have managed to ride almost every operating RMC. So how does Wicked Cyclone compare to the rest of the company's offerings? Is it an elite ride? Find out in this review of Wicked Cyclone. In 1983, the then Riverside amusement park built the Riverside Cyclone, a super compact wood coaster designed by William Cobb. Despite the limited land available, Cobb designed an imposing ride standing 112 feet or 34 meters tall, with track that covered 3,600 feet or 1,097 meters of track. In its early years, the Cyclone was very well received and considered to be one of the best wood coasters in the world. However, after Riverside was purchased by Six Flags, the ride was heavily modified. The ride's first drop was shortened from 90 feet or 27 meters to just 75 feet or 23 meters. The ride had an aggressive layout and was becoming rough, so Six Flags added trim brakes to save on maintenance costs, and the ride's Morgan trains were replaced by 2-bench PTC trains. For the 2014 season, the Cyclone had sections retrofitted with Rocky Mountain Construction's topper track, which were a series of steel plates replacing the ride's original laminated wood. This was intended to smooth out sections of the ride and reduce maintenance. And from experience, these sections of the ride were significantly smoother. I was skeptical if the park would add more topper track in the following seasons, but Six Flags New England had bigger plans in mind. In June of 2014, Six Flags New England announced that the Cyclone would permanently close on July 20th, 2014. Enthusiasts immediately began speculating that the coaster would be converted by RMC into a steel hybrid coaster, similar to what the chain did with a few of their other aging wood coasters. And sure enough, on August 28, 2014, Wicked Cyclone was announced. While I still found Cyclone decently enjoyable, especially in the back for the strong ejector airtime on the ride's 4 largest drops, this was a welcome conversion because the Cyclone was a shell of its former self. I have a separate review going into more detail on the history of the ride and my experience on the classic wood coaster. Unlike a lot of the hybrid conversions that were made taller, Wicked Cyclone was actually 3 feet shorter than the original Cyclone, as it stood just 109 feet or 33 meters tall. Wicked Cyclone was also a bit shorter in track length at just 3,320 feet or 1,012 meters in length, but a lot of the conversions have been shortened from their original layouts. Wicked Cyclone opened in May of 2015, and early reviews were extremely favorable. Everyone considered it an upgrade over the old Cyclone. But further, many thought it was the new best ride in the park, and many enthusiasts thought it was one of the world's best coasters. However, that sentiment has started to fade in recent seasons. So what changed? For one, Wicked Cyclone ran extremely fast in its opening year. Throughout the first season, Six Flags experimented with different wheel combinations on the ride, and it usually ran a bit faster than it does today. I know a lot of people who criticize Wicked Cyclone's pacing and the fact it slows down towards the end, but that really doesn't bother me too much because the ride still delivers great hang time or air time on a majority of its hills. 2. Wicked Cyclone was only the 4th RMC conversion. This was the first RMC I ever rode, and after I got off it in 2015, I immediately proclaimed it as my new number 1 because it was unlike any other coaster I had previously ridden, and I imagine other enthusiasts had a similar experience. As I rode more RMCs, particularly the newer ones, I realized that Wicked Cyclone was no longer in contention as the world's best coaster. In fact, I now think it's towards the bottom half of the RMCs out there. But that still makes it a fantastic ride because RMC is yet to make a bad ride. Wicked Cyclone is a decent looking coaster, and it borrowed some of its looks from the prior RMCs. The ride sports bright red rails like Iron Rattler and Medusa Steel Coaster. But even more curious is the design of the lead car. The Storm Chaser bears a lot of similarities to Medusa, with the long strands of hair going in every direction. The queue line is themed to the wreckage from a cyclone, and this type of theme is right up Six Flags' alley. The less it's maintained, the better it looks over time. I also love the station. The walls are adorned with newspaper clippings from the devastating storm the coaster is themed to. I especially love the custom safety video that plays homage to the ride's designers. But arguably the best part of the queue line are the vantage points of Wicked Cyclone. The queue travels through the heart of the ride structure, so you see the train whizzing past you in every direction. It really amps you up for the ride. And there's a decent chance you'll have to spend some time in the line because Wicked Cyclone is among the park's most popular attractions, and it also doesn't have the best throughput. Dispatchers on the ride tend to be on the slower side because the employees need to first check the seatbelts and then lower the restraints. And if guests accidentally lower their lap bars despite multiple warnings not to, the operator needs to restart the restraint check process. The restraints are the standard ones found on most RMCs. You have a seatbelt and lap bar complete with shin guards. The trains are definitely snug and cramped, but I've never found them uncomfortable. In terms of seat selection, every hill offers great airtime, but I do have a slight preference for the back to experience the full power of the first drop. In the ride's early years, seating was assigned due to how narrow the ride station is, but now you're free to wait for whatever row you want to. Once dispatched, the train rumbles out of the station to the beat of We Will Rock You. I'm not sure if it was intended or not, but it's a quirky touch. You then round a corner and ascend the ride's lift hill. The view for a majority of the lift hill is nothing to write home about, as you have a roadway to your right, and on the left is the park, but the ride structure obstructs your view most of the way up. Once at the top, you get a brief but gorgeous view of the park, and then Wicked Cyclone goes berserk. The first drop is over in a flash, but it's wild. It has a max angle of descent of 78 degrees, and it darn near feels vertical. It absolutely launches back row riders out of their seat. Heck, the drop is so steep that even front row riders get a tiny pop of airtime. This is the best drop at both Six Flags New England and in all of New England. The pull-up from this drop offers some solid positive Gs, and those G forces are maintained through the subsequent overbank, so I always start to gray out. When I regain my vision, I find myself being rocketed out of my seat on a tiny little speed hill. No matter where you're sitting, you will get a strong pop of ejector airtime. And it's extra intense because you're traveling at roughly 55 miles per hour or 88.5 kilometers per hour over this hill. The train then shoots up into the first 0G stall on a steel coaster. The visual of diving into a sea of supports is fantastic and something all three Inversions and Wicked Cyclone share in common. And the hang time on this element is top notch. Riders will levitate out of their seat for a few seconds, and then at the last second, the element snaps in the opposite direction from which you entered, delivering a small burst of laterals. Wicked Cyclone then cruises around a turnaround. There's an overbank with a tiny pinch of laterals, and then the exit from the first turnaround is a double down. The first part of the double down gives a nice pop of ejector airtime and laterals, especially if you're in the front, because the dip is relatively small and tight. The second part of the double down, especially in the back row, has some of the best ejector airtime on the ride. That is followed by a bunny hill that runs parallel to the queue line. In its opening year, this hill delivered some insane ejector airtime. Now it offers more sustained ejector airtime up front, and weak but sustained ejector airtime towards the back. It is still a great element and one of the ride's most sustained airtime moments though. That's followed by the ride's second turnaround. The entrance sharply banks to the left, which offers a jolt of laterals. Then comes my favorite element on the ride, the outward bank turn. This is easily the most violent part of the ride, and it's downright insane. You are diagonally ejected out of your seat with the ride's strongest ejector airtime. At the same time, you are also surrounded by supports, which creates a really freaky head chopper. And this element especially caught me off guard in my first ride. I studied the Wicked Cyclone animation religiously, and this was originally supposed to be a standard overbank turn. Sometime in the design process, this element was transformed into the outward bank turn we have today, and I'm sure glad it was. The exit from this turnaround is this banked hill that jerks you to the side, and then you gracefully flip through a 0G roll. Like the prior stall, you're in a mess of supports while levitating out of your seat. It is a great inversion. Wicked Cyclone then charges over a fantastic bunny hill, providing another powerful burst of ejector airtime. And then Wicked Cyclone cruises around yet another turnaround. and this is easily the dullest part of the ride. The original Cyclone was known for having lackluster turnarounds. They were slow and uneventful. Wicked Cyclone takes its turnarounds with more speed, but they definitely feel like filler elements outside of the aforementioned outward bank turn on the prior turnaround. The turnarounds just don't have the same intensity as the rest of the ride. This turnaround is followed by the double reverse banked airtime hill, which I have nicknamed the Shulky Special. This element should not work. It is basically a speed hill with trick track on both the ascent and descent, and it's a testament to how smooth RMCs are that this element doesn't break your back. Instead, it delivers a violent jolt of ejector airtime while tossing your body side to side like a ragdoll. And this is where the on-ride photo is, so the reactions of riders are priceless. At this point, it feels like Wicked Cyclone is out of gas. You are crawling. Its opening year, that really wasn't the case. But more often than not now, Wicked Cyclone will limp to the finish. Thankfully, it still has some good elements remaining. That is followed by another 0G roll. This one takes place below the prior one, but you have very little speed through it. And honestly, I think that enhances the element. It feels like time is standing still as you're suspended upside down, and you also get this unique head chopper with the ground. You then coast over these two tiny hills that fail to offer any airtime, but the first of these two hills has a tiny bit of laterals. Then comes another outward banked hill. This one is far less extreme than the first one, but it still delivers some solid full ejector airtime as you're diagonally lifted out of your seat, towards a support. Wicked Cyclone then passes over a little hump that does nothing, and then one last bunny hill. This bunny hill delivers a great pop of airtime throughout the train, and then you hop into the brake run, which gives one last pop of airtime, and that airtime pop is considerably stronger up front. You then hit the brake run, ending the ride. Wicked Cyclone's pacing is solid, but a few of the turnarounds provide breathers, and the final few elements don't have the same intensity as those earlier in the ride. In terms of smoothness, Wicked Cyclone is about as smooth as a coaster can be. In its opening year, it was possible to get a ride that was vibrating heavily when the park was experimenting with different wheel combinations, but every ride since 2016 has been smooth as glass. So what would I rate Wicked Cyclone? I would give New England's only RMC a 9 out of 10. This is a great coaster. The ride claims to have more airtime than any other ride in New England, and I believe it. The coaster is a sea of airtime hills, and a majority of them deliver abrupt ejector airtime. Most of the airtime isn't very sustained, but the power more than compensates. And the coaster also mixes things up with 3 inversions with oodles of hang time. While the pacing may not be as good as some of the other RMCs, the pacing is still better than the majority of the coasters out there, and it really is impressive how quickly Wicked Cyclone throws elements at its riders. I still think Superman is the best ride Six Flags New England, but Wicked Cyclone gives the park one of the best 1-2 punches in the world. So those are my thoughts on Wicked Cyclone, the awesome RMC hybrid coaster at Six Flags New England. What are your thoughts on Wicked Cyclone? Do you think it's elite? I would love to hear your thoughts about this coaster down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.